Have you ever caught yourself thinking, I used to love life so much more when I was younger? Or maybe you've noticed that your days feel a little quieter, a bit slower, and sometimes just a little emptier. If you're nodding along, you're not alone. As we get older, especially after 60, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that happiness is something that fades with age, that joy belongs to the young, that excitement is behind us. But what if I told you that couldn't be further from the truth? Let me ask you this. Why do some people seem to glow as they age while others fade into the background? It's not because of luck or genetics. It's often because they've made a quiet but powerful decision to choose joy every single day. And guess what? So can you. Today, we're diving into 6 simple, real-life ways you can reignite that spark of happiness, even now, even today. These aren't quick fixes or empty promises. They're practical, actionable strategies that have helped thousands of people over 60 rediscover purpose, connection, and yes, joy. Now, before we jump in, let me say this. You don't need to overhaul your entire life to start feeling better. Small changes, tiny shifts in mindset, daily habits, and how you show up for yourself can make a world of difference. So let's begin with the first way to bring more joy back into your life. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that the things you used to look forward to no longer excite you. Maybe it's been a while since you laughed until your sides hurt or felt truly inspired by something. Life feels okay, not bad, not great, just okay. That's where many of us find ourselves after retirement, after losing loved ones, or simply after years of putting our own needs on the back burner. But here's the thing. Happiness isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create. And it starts with giving yourself permission to prioritize your well-being again. So the very first step toward finding joy is surprisingly simple. Rediscover your sense of purpose. Now, I know that word purpose might sound heavy, like it has to mean something grand, like writing a book, starting a business, or volunteering full-time. But purpose doesn't have to be dramatic. In fact, for many seniors, purpose comes from the smallest, most meaningful moments. Maybe it's teaching someone to knit like my friend Mabel does every Saturday at her local community center. She says she goes for the company, but everyone there knows it's really because she lights up when she sees those beginners finally make their first stitch. That's purpose. That's joy. Or maybe it's taking care of a garden, walking a dog, or sharing stories with grandchildren. Whatever it is, the key is to find something that makes you feel needed, valued, and alive. Something that gives you a reason to get out of bed each morning. Now, if you're not sure where to start, here's an idea. Think about what you used to love doing as a kid or earlier in life. Did you enjoy drawing, cooking, building things, helping others? Sometimes going back to what once brought you joy is the easiest way to rekindle it now. And if you're still unsure, try something new. Take a class online, try a hobby group, pick up a puzzle book and challenge yourself. Exploration isn't just for the young, it's for anyone brave enough to say, I'm not done growing yet. Because here's the truth, purpose doesn't come knocking on your door. You have to go out and meet it halfway. And when you do, it brings joy right along with it. Now that we've talked about purpose, let's move on to another powerful way to bring more happiness into your life: surrounding yourself with positive energy. We all know that people influence how we feel. It's human nature. If you spend time around negative, complaining people, it's hard not to feel weighed down. On the flip side, being around optimistic, uplifting folks tends to lift your spirits without even trying. But as we age, our social circles naturally shrink. Kids grow up, friends move away, some pass on. And suddenly we realize we're spending more time alone than we'd like. That's why it's so important to be intentional about who we let into our lives and who we let stay. Think of it like tending a garden. You wouldn't let weeds take over your flower beds, would you? You'd pull them out so the beautiful plants can thrive. In the same way, we need to be mindful of what or who is draining our energy. This doesn't mean cutting people off harshly or judging others. It means recognizing which relationships nourish your soul and which ones leave you feeling drained. And then gently shifting your focus toward the people who make you feel good. Maybe it's reconnecting with an old friend you haven't spoken to in years. Maybe it's joining a walking group or a book club. Or maybe it's simply calling a neighbor who always seems happy to hear from you. One of my favorite examples is Henry, a retired teacher who started attending a weekly chess club after his wife passed away. He wasn't looking for friends, he just wanted to keep his mind sharp. But over time, he found himself laughing more, sharing stories, and eventually forming bonds that helped him heal. That's the power of surrounding yourself with positivity. And if in-person connections are tough right now, don't worry. You can still build meaningful relationships online. There are virtual communities for everything these days: gardening, cooking, photography, even pet lovers. Find one that speaks to you and dive in. The point is, joy thrives in connection. And whether it's face-to-face or through a screen, the people we surround ourselves with can either dim our light or help it shine brighter. Now, let's talk about something that might surprise you: movement. Yes, movement. Not just exercise, but any kind of physical activity that gets your body moving and your blood flowing. Because believe it or not, staying active is one of the most powerful tools we have for boosting mood and overall happiness. I know, some of you might be thinking, I've got stiff joints, or I don't have the energy. But hear me out. Movement doesn't have to mean running marathons or lifting weights. It can be as simple as stretching in your living room, dancing to your favorite song, or taking a slow walk around the block. Here's why this matters. When we move our bodies, our brains release endorphins, the natural chemicals that make us feel good. That's why even a short walk outside can instantly improve your mood. Plus, staying active helps reduce stress, improve sleep, and gives you a sense of accomplishment. Let me share a story. My neighbor Edna turned 72 last year and decided to start doing gentle yoga every morning. At first, she could barely touch her toes. But after a few weeks, she noticed something unexpected. She was sleeping better, her back pain eased up, and she actually looked forward to her morning routine. She said it gave her a sense of control during a time when so much else felt uncertain. Movement doesn't have to be intense to be effective. What matters is consistency and enjoyment. So find something you like, whether it's swimming, tai chi, gardening, or even housework, and make it part of your daily rhythm. And remember, it's never too late to start. Every step, every stretch, every movement counts toward building a happier, healthier version of yourself. Now that we've covered how purpose, positive connections, and movement can bring more joy into your life, let's dive into another powerful way to reignite happiness: practicing gratitude every day. It might sound simple, almost too simple, but trust me, this one habit has been proven time and again to shift mindset, improve mood, and even strengthen relationships. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly stopped to appreciate the good things in your life? Not just the big stuff like health or family, but the little things, like a warm cup of coffee in the morning, the sound of birds chirping outside your window, or the smile from a stranger at the grocery store. These moments are easy to overlook, especially when life gets busy or when we're dealing with pain, loneliness, or changes in our daily routines. But here's the thing: gratitude doesn't require perfect circumstances. It simply requires awareness. Take my friend Doris, for example. She started keeping a small notebook by her bed where she wrote down 3 things she was grateful for each night before sleep. At first, it felt silly, but over time, she noticed something. Her mind began to focus more on what was going right instead of what was going wrong. She told me, "I used to wake up thinking about all the things I couldn't do anymore. Now, I start my day remembering the warmth of my cat curled up beside me, the kindness of my neighbor bringing me fresh bread, and the joy of hearing my granddaughter laugh." That's the power of gratitude. It gently rewires the brain to notice the good even in difficult times. So how can you start practicing gratitude today? Well, one of the easiest ways is to set aside just a few minutes each day to reflect on what you're thankful for. You can write it down, say it out loud, or even text it to someone who would appreciate hearing it. The key is consistency. Do it regularly, and over time, you'll begin to feel lighter, more peaceful, and, yes, happier. And don't worry if some days it feels harder than others. That's completely normal. On those days, try focusing on the basics: your breath, your home, your health, or even the fact that you're still here, still living, still capable of growth. Gratitude isn't about ignoring life's challenges. It's about choosing to see the light, even on cloudy days. Now, moving on to another important piece of the happiness puzzle: letting go of resentment. This one might be a bit harder to hear, but it's also one of the most freeing habits you can adopt after 60. We all carry things from the past. Things people said or did, choices we made, opportunities we missed. And sometimes, without realizing it, those old wounds shape how we feel about ourselves and the world around us. But here's the truth. Holding on to grudges and hurt only weighs you down, not the person who caused the pain. Think of it like carrying a heavy backpack everywhere you go. Every time you take a step forward, that weight slows you down, strains your body, and clouds your mind. Wouldn't it feel better to stop carrying that load? Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting what happened or pretending everything was okay. It means choosing peace for yourself. It means giving yourself permission to move forward without dragging the past along with you. Now, I know forgiveness can feel impossible, especially when the hurt runs deep. But it doesn't have to happen all at once. Start small. Maybe you write a letter to someone who hurt you, just for yourself, not to send. Or maybe you talk to a trusted friend or counselor about how you feel. Sometimes simply acknowledging the pain is the first step toward healing. And remember, forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. Because when you let go of anger and bitterness, you make space for joy to return. One of the most beautiful examples I've seen of this was a woman named Ruth who hadn't spoken to her sister in over 20 years. They had a falling out over a misunderstanding that grew into years of silence. Then, one day, Ruth decided enough was enough. She reached out, not to fix everything, but just to say, "I miss you." That single act didn't erase the past, but it opened the door to healing, and eventually to laughter and love again. Letting go doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it just means releasing the hold the past has on your heart, so you can live more freely in the present. And speaking of living more fully in the present, let's talk about the next point: embracing new experiences. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. At my age, try something new? Isn't it too late? Let me tell you, no, it's not. In fact, this stage of life might be the best time to explore new interests, hobbies, and adventures. Why? Because you've earned the freedom to do what makes you happy. No more waiting for weekends off, no more juggling responsibilities. You have the time, the wisdom, and the courage to try something different. Maybe it's learning to play an instrument. Maybe it's traveling somewhere you've never been. Or maybe it's taking a cooking class with friends. Whatever it is, doing something new keeps your spirit young and your mind engaged. Let me share a story. My Uncle George took up painting at 73. He'd never held a brush before in his life, but he saw a watercolor class advertised at the community center and thought, why not? Today, his paintings hang in local cafes and senior centers. He says it gives him a reason to get up in the morning and a reason to keep learning. New experiences don't have to be grand. They just need to spark curiosity and joy. So give yourself permission to explore. Try something unfamiliar. Meet new people. Take a different route on your walk. Say yes to invitations, even if you're not sure how it will turn out. Because the truth is, life doesn't stop being exciting just because you hit a certain age. Sometimes it's just getting started. Now that we've talked about purpose, connection, movement, gratitude, forgiveness, and trying new things, let's close this out with one final but incredibly powerful way to bring more joy into your life: taking care of yourself, mind, body, and soul. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly put yourself first? I know. We spend most of our lives taking care of others, raising kids, working hard, supporting friends, helping family. It's part of who we are. But here's the thing. If we don't take care of ourselves, we can't show up fully for anyone else. And more importantly, we deserve it. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. It's about honoring the person you are right now, at this stage of life, and giving yourself the love and attention you've always given to others. So, what does self-care really look like after 60? It might be as simple as getting enough rest. I know many of us stay up later than we should, scrolling through our phones or watching just one more episode of our favorite show. But sleep is one of the most powerful tools we have for staying healthy, both mentally and physically. A good night's rest helps your mood, your memory, and even your energy levels during the day. Or maybe it's eating nourishing meals, not just because they're good for you, but because they make you feel good. One of my favorite tips is to add more color to your plate. Bright fruits and vegetables aren't just pretty to look at. They're packed with nutrients that support brain health, skin elasticity, and even emotional well-being. Another form of self-care is listening to your body. If something hurts, don't ignore it. Talk to your doctor. Try a new stretching routine. Get a massage. Your body has carried you through decades of life. Don't you owe it some kindness? And then there's emotional self-care. That means making space for how you feel, whether it's sadness, joy, frustration, or excitement. Don't push emotions aside or pretend everything's fine when it's not. Give yourself permission to feel, to grieve if needed, and to celebrate the small wins. Self-care also looks like doing things that bring you peace. Maybe that's reading a book without interruption, sitting outside with a cup of tea, or lighting a candle that reminds you of happy memories. These little moments matter. They remind you that your happiness still matters. One of the most inspiring people I know is Evelyn, who turned 80 last year. She starts each morning with a warm bath, a few minutes of quiet reflection, and a short walk around her yard. She says those rituals help her feel grounded and ready for whatever the day brings. And you know what? She radiates calm and joy. Taking care of yourself doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. It just needs to be intentional. Because when you treat yourself with kindness and respect, something beautiful happens. You start to believe that you deserve happiness again. And once you do, it begins to show in everything you do. As we wrap up these 6 ways to reignite joy after 60, I want to leave you with something important. You are never too old to feel good, never too old to find purpose, never too old to connect, to grow, to try something new. Life doesn't stop being meaningful just because you've lived a long one already. In fact, this stage of life can be one of the richest, most fulfilling chapters yet, if you choose to embrace it. Remember, happiness isn't about having everything perfect. It's about finding joy in the everyday moments, nurturing your relationships, staying active in body and mind, and giving yourself the love and care you deserve. So whether it's reaching out to someone you haven't spoken to in a while, signing up for that class you've been curious about, or simply enjoying a quiet moment with a cup of coffee, you're doing something important. You're choosing yourself, and that choice alone can change everything. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss any future videos filled with practical tips, encouragement, and ideas to help you live your best life at any age. And if you feel inspired, share your thoughts in the comments below. What's one thing you're going to do this week to bring more joy into your life? I'd love to hear from you. Here's to living with purpose, connection, and happiness, no matter where you are on life's journey. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.